How long are we going to dwell on the past? How long are we going to allow the past events, any past sadness, any past loss, any past grief to determine our future? I think it's important that we give ourselves the time so that we can grieve any loss that we may face, any sadness that we may have experienced in the past. But I think that after a certain point in time, it's about recognizing that it's time to move on. It's time to move on to better days. It's time to move on to better things. It's time to let go of your emotional connection to the things of this past and instead substantiate that emotional connection to the present moment. Because, there's a quote that's like, you can never build a new house if you keep holding the same bricks. And I think that's very true. It's about recognizing that as long as we allow ourselves to constantly be focused on, constantly dwell on, constantly think about, constantly emotionally experience the things of the past, any sadness or loss that we may have faced, then we'll never be able to substantiate any positivity, any joy, and any peace in the present moment. I've said this before, but the past doesn't exist anymore. And the future doesn't exist yet. The only thing that does exist is the present moment. So why are we allowing ourselves to dwell on? Why are we tainting the present moment that could be so positive for us with negative emotions of the past? Like I said, I think it's important that we allow ourselves to grieve and we deal with the loss and the sadness that we've experienced in the past. But it's almost about recognizing that at certain points, it's time to move on. And that's not to say that, oh, okay, after like a few days of this or after a certain amount of time, then like, oh, I shouldn't be sad anymore. Because I think that the fear and the running away from sadness is exactly what allows it to stay in our lives. It's about allowing yourself to feel any emotions that you want to experience. It's about allowing yourself to feel the sadness, allowing yourself to feel that loss. And almost going with the notion that I can experience this if I want to. But then at a certain point, it's just about recognizing maybe this is not what I want to experience anymore. Spending enough time in that emotion of sadness and in that emotion of loss to the point where you're ready to move on to greater things. And I think that's a choice that we can make for ourselves at any given point in time. It's about recognizing that you do have control over your emotional state. And in constantly replaying things that have happened in the past, and you'll never be able to substantiate the future. It's about recognizing that the past doesn't exist anymore. So why are we still dwelling on it? Why are we not allowing ourselves to move on to better things? And, another point that I just have to make is that outside of our emotional conviction, outside of our emotional experience in things, everything is neutral. Like, oh, you could say, oh, I lost, let's say, I always use these kinds of examples, but let's say, oh, I lost $100. Now, that could be a negative experience or that could be a positive experience. But it all depends on the way that you look at it. Because outside of yourself, just looking at it objectively is neither a good nor a bad thing. Everything just is what it is. But it's the way that we look at it, it's the way that we emotionally experience it, that gives it that conviction, that gives it that importance in our lives. So even in the loss that we faced in the past, even in the grief that we faced in the past, the bad experiences that we've had, they're only bad experiences because that's how we experience them. That's how we're allowing ourselves to experience them emotionally. So it's about recognizing why continue to substantiate that negativity in the present moment when it's not something that is objectively a negative event. All that to say, I just think, it's important that we allow ourselves to grieve loss, that we allow ourselves to experience sadness at certain things that have happened in our lives. But then at a certain point, it's about recognizing that you have the full ability to move on. You have the full ability to grow and the full ability to change. And, the present is the present is what builds the future. and the past doesn't exist anymore, the future doesn't exist yet. So substantiating a positive future is about doing what you can in the present moment. The Bible verse I have for this video is taken from Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19, or verse 18 to 19. And it says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." So it's also about recognizing that living in the present moment and substantiating a future is exactly like making a way in the wilderness. It's about recognizing that you don't know everything that's going to happen, but you have the ability to shape your experience of it. So I hope you took something from this video, and thank you for watching.